The time is 5 p.m. The regular meeting of the following will come to order. The Victorville City Council and the same council also sitting as the Victorville Library Board of Trustees, Southern California Logistics Rail Authority, Southern California Logistics Airport Authority, successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency, the City as Housing Asset Successor, Joint Powers Financing Authority, and the Victorville Water District. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Becerra. Councilmember Gomez.
Buenas tardes.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving. Present. Mayor Jones.
Here, thank you. We have a quorum. All right, moving on to the introduction to public comments. Madam Clerk, before I begin with that, are there any requests to speak on closed session items?
Yes, I would like to speak.
Certainly. So Member Gomez is going to speak as a member of the audience. Will you please step down to the podium? And the public is to be apprised that the council member is going to speak as a member of the audience without the color of authority or any of the attendant credibility, as it were. As a council member, the audience will have to determine for itself the weight and credibility to give to her comments. And remember, Ms. Gomez, you're going to speak to a closed session item. Ms. Gomez, which item on closed session do you wish to speak to?
Voy a hablar acerca de
Ms.
de
Gomez, which item
todas las que están aquí, todas las que están aquí.
Ms. Gomez, is part of the chair's request?
Ah,
Or a
Quiero
recognition?
hablar de la conferencia legal que
Ms. Gomez,
tenemos.
comments, and therefore recognition is removed. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
No, you can't do that. I can speak Spanish if I want to.
Audience to speak.
Yeah, I said I'm going to speak in Spanish.
Ms. Gomez, are there any requests from the audience to speak?
Madam Mayor.
Ms.
there-
Gomez did not respond to the chair's request as to Ms. Of course, but you need to be respectful and respect the. You must. Thank you. Moving on. Madam Clerk, are there any requests from the Zoom audience?
Madam Mayor, there are no public comments.
Thank you. So we're going to give 30 seconds for the Zoom audience. Will you please set the timer? Ms. Gomez, the floor has been removed. Madam Clerk, will you remove the audio from the podium? The chair will acknowledge that the person speaking at the podium is not doing so under the recognition or authority of the council. No, you may not. Madam Clerk, will you kindly tell me when the time is up?
30 seconds is up.
Thank you. So the public comment period is now closed and the chair brings the item back to the council. We're moving on to declaration of closed session items by the city attorney, Mr. DeMortnowski.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. We have 3 items this evening. The first 2 are existing litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 D1, and the providing the information would jeopardize existing settlement negotiations. The third is anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 D2. The facts and circumstances related thereto are set forth on the agenda. To the extent there's reportable action, we will report it either at the conclusion of the 5 o'clock meeting or at the commencement of the 6 o'clock regular session.
Thank you, Mr. DeBornowski. And to the audience, my apologies from the chair. We have an audience member at the podium that refuses to yield to the directions of the chair and is being quite indecorous. My apologies. Under normal circumstances, this audience member would be removed from the chambers, but this seems to be what this audience member wishes, so we're going to move on. So with that said, and the reports made from the city attorney, we're now in recess to close session. We will resume open session at 6 p.m. Thank you. So, and ladies and gentlemen that are coming into the chambers, there are certain areas that are blocked off, and this is in respect for our COVID restrictions to make sure that everyone stays healthy and safe. Thank you.
If we need it, we'll open it. Okay. Okay. Okay.
So could I just test, can everyone on the back wall hear me? All right, that looks good. Thank you. Well, good evening. Today is Tuesday, October 19, 2021. The time is 6 p.m. We are resuming the regular session of our regular meeting, the following of which will come to order. The Victorville City Council and the same council also sitting as the Victorville Library Board of Trustees, Southern California Logistics Rail Authority, Southern California Logistics Airport Authority, successor agency to the redevelopment agency, the city as housing asset successor, Joint Powers Financing Authority, and the Victorville Water District. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Becerra. Councilmember Gomez.
Buenas tardes.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving.
Present.
Mayor Jones.
Here. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have a quorum. Mr. DeBornowski, are there any closed session reports to make?
Thank you, Mayor Jones. We had 3 items this evening. The first 2, A and B, were existing litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 D1 and providing information would jeopardize settlement negotiations. The third item was anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 D2, and the facts and circumstances related to that are set forth on the agenda. At this time, there is no reportable action with respect to any of those 3 items.
Thank you, Mr. DeBornowski. All right, we're going to move on to our invocation led by Pastor Wayne Boyd of the Victorville First Assembly of God Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by our police captain, John Wickham. Pastor Boyd, are you with us? Please come forward to the podium. Pastor, would you
Hello.
like us to stand or be seated? All right, thank you, sir.
Nice to see you again, Pastor.
Ms. Gomez does not have
Nice
recognition
to
by
see
the
you again,
chair.
Pastor.
Pastor?
Precious Heavenly Father, Lord, we just invite your presence tonight into this chamber. Lord, I just speak and proclaim your blessing over each and every single one of these council members and all that's present today. Lord, that your goodness and your love and your grace would rest upon each and every single one of them and their families. And Lord, we come tonight, Lord, for our fair city of Victorville, that you would just bless it, that it would prosper under your mighty hand. And that, Lord, as we look forward to the future, that God, we look forward to with just expectation, God, of your favor and your goodness. Lord, tonight I pray your wisdom and your grace and your love to reside in this place. And that again, each and every person here would feel your loving embrace and goodness in a mighty way. Bless all the proceedings, I pray. And again, ask for your humble and gracious wisdom. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Police captain, for those who would like to remain.
One under God, indivisible, liberty.
Thank you, Pastor, and thank you, Captain. All right, we're now going to move on to our proclamations and special presentations for the evening. We're going to begin with a proclamation for Lee Bennett from the Friends of the Library. And so she is invited to come forth along with Mr. Valentin Godina. And then that will be followed by a presentation to Mr. Richard Bobo Ciccio.
May the record reflect that the mayor has left the dais.
Can you all hear me?
Right. He's coming, wait just a moment.
Thank you, Captain. All right, so just for clarification, the mayor is the chair of these meetings and presides over these meetings. All right, so thank you very much. All right, so Lee Bennett, you are from the Friends of the Library. Mr. Godina, you're a member of the Friends of the Library. And so the city is proud to join cities and counties across the country in recognizing the importance of the Friends of the Libraries that they play in advocating for and sustaining our public libraries. Here in Victorville, our city library is the cornerstone of our community. It serves as a virtual resource enriching, a virtual and a vital, it's been virtual for the last several years, right? But a vital resource enriching the lives of our residents with valuable information and educational programming. I join the entire City Council in commending the Friends of our Victorville City Library for your dedicated volunteer service and your efforts that benefit our entire community. I am pleased to proclaim the week of October 17th as Friends of the Libraries Week in Victorville, and I encourage our residents to support the work of this organization to make a positive impact on our city library. Thank you to these outstanding volunteers. Bennett, Mr. Godino, I offer you this proclamation, and I'm not going to read everything, but certainly the city of Victorville is very thankful and proud of your work to contribute so greatly to our community and participate in the great education of our community. Thank you so much. Would you like to step forward, please, for a photo? Would you like to step forward? We will take a picture of you. This is your 15 seconds of fame, Ms. Bennett. Ms. Bennett, Mr. Godina, thank you very much. We appreciate you. It's my pleasure, Ms. Bennett. Thank you, Mr. Godina, as ever. Thank you, sir. All right. All right, so next up,
Thank you, Mr. Godina, and thanks, Mrs. Bennett.
so again, members of the audience, Ms. Gomez is speaking without the recognition of the chair. There's no authority to do so. All right, moving on. So tonight, I have the great honor of recognizing Richard Bochicchio, otherwise known as Bo. Yay! For his many years of service to the city of Victorville, most notably as a volunteer member of our Citizens on Patrol. Bo was born in New Jersey, but found his way to Victorville during his service in the United States Air Force. When Bo was assigned to the George Air Force Base, we really lucked out because he stayed here in Victorville and dedicated the next 31 years of his life to serving our residents and the broader community. As a volunteer with the Victorville Police Department, Bo patrolled our city, helped provide for the safety of local children by assisting with their fingerprinting, and supported various law enforcement and children's charities. In his 31 years of service, Bo volunteered more than 16,800 hours. Okay, so let's be really specific. 16,823 hours in support of our community. Bo, you embody the words public service. You are an inspiration to us all. Your legacy of generously giving back to community is truly remarkable. Thank you for your lasting positive impact on Victorville, and may I say, in my life as well. On behalf of the Victorville City Council, I am pleased to present you with this certificate honoring you, Bo, and congratulating you on your retirement. So for those who may not know him, as well as maybe I do over the years, he's a bit of a comedian. But you're not going to get to crack a joke tonight. But Bo, we truly appreciate you. You got to put that one on your wall.
Give him the microphone. We can't hear what he's saying.
Thank you.
To swap me. On sale.
You are so naughty. All right. Can you look at Sue for a picture?
Oh, I'm not that good.
Oh, yes, you are. He just said he's not that good looking, but yeah, you are. All right.
Jean's getting
Well,
jealous.
congratulations. And now I'd like to invite Captain Wickham up because the Sheriff's Department has something for you as well. Uh-huh. 31 years, folks, 31 years.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council.
Bo. It's an honor to be here. With me tonight is Lieutenant Jacob Galt, who's assigned to Victorville City Station, and representing the Office of the Sheriff is Deputy Chief Rick Bessinger. Just a little bit of background about this, what we call COP, or Citizens on Patrol. It's a volunteer group, and Bo, like the mayor said, over 31 years of service with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. And we just couldn't get our job done without volunteers with the Sheriff's Department. And I can't tell you enough or thank you enough, Bo, for all the dedicated work, all volunteer hours, over 16,000 hours. It's amazing. We just couldn't function as a station. The things that the volunteers do, not only are they out there engaging with the public, the community relations, everything from taking our patrol cars down the hill and headquarters and all the stuff. Again, I can't thank you enough. Just real quick, I think I've known Bo for about 20 years. Everybody knows it as Bo Wednesday. Bo would bring lunch every single Wednesday to all of our troops. And just absolutely amazing. Just another little story about Bo. Every time a deputy sheriff or a detective or a sergeant or whatever was promoted, Bo would go out and buy the stripes, the corporal stripes or the sergeant stripes or the bars, and he would give it to that individual. I know former military, what a mentor to our deputies. We've all grown up with Bo. I was, I think, a deputy or detective and all the way through where I'm at. So I thank you personally. On behalf of the sheriff, he thanks you, the Sheriff's Department, and specifically the Victorville City Station. And with that being said, we have a couple of presentations. Better put on my glasses, Bo. Yeah. This is a plaque, so you better make room. Victorville Sheriff Station Citizen Patrol Unit, in appreciation of your dedication and commitment to the citizens, San Bernardino County and the Sheriff's Department for over 31 years of service. Thank you for your commitment. February 26, 1990 to April 14, 2021. And we'd like to also present you with the certificate of commendation signed by Sheriff McMahon for over 30 years of service. And the 2020 San Bernardino County Sheriff's Yearbook. So. I think your picture's in there. Oh, okay. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah. We want to get a picture.
Yeah. I gotta put this down though. One of them? Yeah. Centennial badge. Oh, she loves taking pictures. When you cut her out, she loves taking pictures.
Okay, Bo, congratulations again. Thank you so much for decades of service to our community.
I think Bo would like a picture with his family and the police officers as a gift.
Ms. Gomez is not.
I tried.
Thank you very
I
much.
tried.
To the audience for the outburst of a
My
council.
apologies. I would have said yes. One day I'll be mayor and I'll bring you back and do that picture for you guys. Thank you for your service, Bo. Yeah, they're all standing back there. Yeah. Bo would like the help of the family to get him back over there, he said. Thank you, Bo. Congratulations.
Thank you, Bo. We appreciate you. So ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to wait a moment until we resume.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you, Bo. So, and I personally appreciate that, Bo, that this family, your neighbors are taking such good care of you, and they're lovely, lovely folks.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care, guys. Bye, Bo. And congratulations again.
You betcha. All right, we're now going to move on to the city clerk. Will you kindly present the agenda and any revisions thereto?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There are no revisions to the agenda.
Thank you very much. And council members, does anyone have any conflicts of interest to declare? Hearing and seeing none, we're going to move on to the introduction of public comments. But before I do that, Madam Clerk, are there requests to speak?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All right, well, welcome to tonight's meeting of the Victorville City Council. Your city council is interested in your ideas and opinions, and furthermore endeavors to incorporate them into its deliberations. At the same time, the council must be able to carry out its business in an organized and efficient manner, free from material disruption. Therefore, this meeting will be administered in accordance with Government Code Section 54957 and the council's established policies and procedures. Individuals may speak on agenda items or on issues not posted on the agenda during the public comment section, providing those issues are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Individual speakers may address the council once per public comment period and once per each public hearing item for up to 3 minutes. Additional time may be allocated for appeal hearings in accordance with the city's adopted policy and procedures manual. All testimony must be directed solely to the council. Open meeting laws do not permit council members to engage in dialogue during the public comment periods. Speakers are requested to comment as briefly as the subject permits. Whether attending this meeting in person or via Zoom, once comments are invited, the speaker will be called on by name, then recognized by the presiding officer. The speaker will state the item number or numbers that will be addressed, or that the subject matter is non-agendized. Audience members may not disrupt, disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of this meeting, and those who do are subject to removal from the meeting pursuant to Penal Code 403. Your understanding and cooperation are appreciated. Madam Clerk, will you begin with the in-person request to speak?
Yes, Miller Marks.
Welcome, Mr. Marks. Thank you, sir. Did you have a particular item that you wish to speak to? So, Mr. Marks, I would certainly invite you to share that with a member of our city manager's team, if that would be acceptable to you, Mr. Metzler. Yes. Yes, please. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so Mr. Marks, we'll see that you get your originals back. And will, the city manager and his staff will help you navigate this process. Yes, sir. Thank you. So if you could proceed back to the podium so we can all hear you, but certainly the city would endeavor to help you navigate this process and hope that there's a reasonable resolution for you, sir. All right. Our pleasure entirely. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Please forgive me if I don't say this right. Dr. Vin Yoki?
And so I'm just going to say doctor because I didn't catch it either. My apologies, ma'am. Welcome to our meeting. So can someone in IT maybe in the back turn that mic up? Does it, because it doesn't sound agreed. Or okay, say that again. Vinyoki, thank you very much. Well, that sounds much better already. Welcome again. And did you have a particular item that you wish to speak to?
Safety. This is acoustics very.
Yeah, it's so IT, we're getting a lot of echoing. Okay, that's better. Well, no, it's not better.
Oh, well. Good evening to all present. I called in the streets of death. Elevado, Hook, Cobalt, Arvila, Topaz, Palmdale, and Cobalt. Any street that has children coming and going from schools. Why? Because of flagrant disregard for safety of students' lives. Students en masse cross Palmdale and Cobalt against their red light, blocking cars legally with a green light, turning left. Vendors selling stuff from their car trunks have crowds of children meandering around the intersection in line to buy, chatting with others, running across roads, intersections to meet up with cars, forgetting they're in the middle of the road. 4 p.m., students using their green light to cross a major intersection are interrupted by cars illegally turning right at a red light, going through the crosswalk that the children are using, avoiding, luckily by the grace of God, their lives as they dodge the cars moving through the intersection. One of my 8th graders said, Dr. V, when I opened my eyes lying on the ground, I saw my brothers on the ground dead after the car hit us all. Then I passed out. He passed out because of newly broken legs. His unconscious brothers were not dead. It was then that the city and school district upgraded the safety at Liberty School. At school board meetings, safety is the #1 concern of teachers for the many times these traffic issues have been brought up, almost every 2 weeks. We've been told, we talk to the city, they know, yet problems have not been addressed to the satisfaction of those who are in the road. Why wait for the student to sustain a serious injury before you decide on preventative actions? Prevention is always more proactive than reaction. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And do you, if you're inclined, could you give your contact information or leave your contact information with either a deputy or our city clerk, and perhaps we can
Forgive someone moved. There was a movement.
Yes, ma'am. If you could leave your contact information with the city clerk, that would be helpful, and we'll have someone get in touch with you and help respond to those concerns. We appreciate your coming forward, Doctor. Madam Clerk?
There are no
Yes,
additional.
I like to speak as well.
Okay, so we have Member Gomez wishing to speak as a member of the audience. And as she does that, she does so without the color of authority or the necessarily the credibility and et cetera. As a council member, the audience is cautioned to choose for itself the weight and credibility it wishes to give to the comments being made as it would to any other member of the public speaking. Ms. Gomez, please step down to the podium. Ms. Gomez, if you would let us know, as is required by policy, which item you wish to speak to, or if it's a non-agendized matter. Please proceed, Ms. Gomez.
As a public commenter, I have the right to speak on anything on the comments, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm not here to tell you what you need to tell me or I need to tell you. My reason for being here is quiero hablarle a la comunidad que tengo aquí. Desafortunadamente, si estamos viendo alrededor, miran las sillas vacías. Tuvimos a un oficial, el señor Bo, más de 16,000 horas que puso. Y no fue posible que toda la familia que él trajo le hayan habido unas 7 sillas para que él se sentara. Le hablé al señor Keith Messer y le dije, Keith, ¿estás mirando que las sillas están ocupantes para una? Y él dijo que sí. Y dijo que iba a abrir un cuarto allá atrás. Nunca se abrió ese cuarto. Nunca se abrió. Es muy desafortunado que sabiendo que podemos abrir asientos o acomodar a personas en un cuarto, allá una conferencia de este grupo no lo hizo. Tuvimos oficiales que vinieron aquí enfrente con un señor en silla de ruedas, tomaron fotos y la familia ya esquinada como animalitos, viendo a ver quién les iba a dar la bendición para que tomaran fotos con ellos. ¿Qué clase de representación es esta? Obvio, no es una representación que el señor Bo haya querido. A él comprar cada miércoles la comida a personas que hacen dineral y él está como oficial voluntario y nosotros no le pudimos dar una capacidad para darle a las personas que estaban paradas en una esquina a estar aquí junto con él y darle la felicitación. Eso habla mucho de ti, Jones, y habla mucho de cada persona que no dio la boca para que esta persona pudiera estar cerca de ellos. Muy desafortunado. Otra cosa, muy pronto vamos a tener lo que se llama el redistrito de la ciudad de Victorville. Y lo que está pasando aquí, lo que estamos viendo, hay unos asientos que no caben más de 20 personas por asiento, si lo vas contando en un lado y en el otro. Eso quiere decir que no estamos facilitando las audiencias públicas para el pueblo. Disculpa, Becerra, estás hablando con Keith Messer, pero Jones no está viendo cuando ustedes hablan. So, Jones does not see when Becerra over here talks with Keith Messer, but when Blanca Gomez is talking to the city attorney, we do catch that on video. But that was caught on video, and I changed the language so that we start looking at who's talking to who and for what reasons. I don't mind. I just want the same type of ability that you have, Ms. Becerra. I wasn't trying to target you. I'm just making sure that she knows that this is what's happening. Entonces, voy a seguir adelante. Cada vez que pase algo, mi micrófono está prendido. Voy a hacer la audiencia a la comunidad y que vea lo que está pasando en estas 4 paredes. No solamente yo, sino más personas adelante van a venir y esos videos que están viendo, no solamente lo están viendo por mi Facebook, ni no solamente lo están viendo por mi Instagram, lo están viendo muchas más personas. Entonces, abramos más para hacer la habilidad que sí, en serio, estamos nosotros aquí para usted.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez. And so just a general response, every council member is given much grace, including Member Gomez. All right, Madam Clerk, any other requests from the chambers?
No, Madam Mayor.
Do we have requests via Zoom?
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. With that said, Madam Clerk, will you please set the timer for 30 seconds in the event that we have a Zoom member wishing to speak who might be having technical difficulties?
seconds has elapsed and there are no speakers via Zoom.
Thank you. With that said, the public comment period is now closed and the chair brings the item back to the council. With that said, the next business in order is our consent calendar, items 1 through 6. Motion is in order for the council and the council acting on its various boards of directors to approve action on consent calendar items 1 through 6 in accordance with the recommendations presented on the agenda.
I'd like to comment on 2 of them.
Certainly. So just since we haven't done this in a while, comments or clarifications shall necessarily be limited in nature, and the member is free to do that. But if it goes beyond that, the chair is going to request that the member make a request to pull the item. Member
I
Gomez,
also
please
have
proceed.
Questions.
Which
It's
items did you wish to comment on briefly?
2, and I also have questions 2 and 4.
2 and 4. Any other council members wishing to comment or ask questions briefly?
2, 3, and 4.
Okay, so I was asking for other council members. So you're adding number 3 to that, Member
Yeah, two,
Gomez?
2,
2, 3, and 4. All right, any other members? All right, Member Gomez, brief comments or brief questions for clarification, beginning with item number 2.
For the commercial demand, number 7, $9.9 million, which covers 929 and 924. My question is about the 9.9 million. Were there any extra costs incurred that were not standard, since I observed the typical norm is 4 million or so, and this kind of exceeds it every so often it does?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Everything that was included in this commercial demand schedule is within the norm because it's within the policy document approved by this council, which is the budget. That is the financial framework for all commercial demand.
And for number 3, LMADS 1, 3, 6, 7 block wall repairs were completed and approved. I wanted to see, have any of the communities that are affected or benefit by this were they formally notified?
No.
And for number 4, we have 4 items. I'm just wondering if the August 17th, September 7th, September 21st, September 27th, and September 29th are basically on a learning curve. The reason I ask is I typically see 1 or 2 items, but today it exceeded that.
Well, you do have different types of meetings in there, perhaps even more meetings than usual, because we've got adjourned and special meetings. So it's likely capturing all of those, which is not typical in any other month.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. All right, with that said, the chair invites a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. As to staff recommendations on each item, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Becerra,
Aye.
Councilmember Gomez,
Yes.
Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Irving,
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Thank you.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So the council and its various boards of directors have taken action in accordance with the recommendations laid out on the agenda. We're now going to move on to our first business in order, which is written communications. This evening, we're going to have a minor change in the order of business, and we're going to take up item number 21 first, which is the recommendation for appointment to the Victorville Planning Commission. Mr. Metzler, will you kindly introduce the item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Yes, this item is dealing with the appointment of a position to the Victorville Planning Commission. As you know, but for the benefit of the public, the Planning Commission serves as the body that oversees land use related policies for the city. So projects, new development, for example, would go before the Planning Commission for determination as to whether or not certain projects get built in this community. We've had a vacancy on the Planning Commission due to resignation since February, and we have gone through the process on a few occasions now where we've actually advertised, invited applications, screened applications, conducted interviews. And so with that, we've done a similar process for this latest go around. And with that, based upon the latest process, we have a recommendation carried forward by our mayor. So I'll turn it over to Mayor Jones at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Metzler. All right, well, to further introduce this item, I'd like you to know more about the selection process and the criteria I used for the positions. And this is already familiar to the council, as this is the third time in recent months. So my objective was to bring to the council a highly qualified nominee who will be able to begin the work of the commission immediately with little to no learning curve, as there is much work to accomplish on the commission for approximately 1 year. Candidates were evaluated in 3 primary areas: competence, character, and commitment to the betterment of our community. Regarding competence, I focused on business savvy, leadership skills, the ability to team effectively with current commissioners and city staff, and specialized skills or knowledge commensurate to the demands of the position. The interview process was uniform, rigorous, fair, and impartial, and all candidate addresses were verified as being within the city's boundaries. No preference was given to any candidate for any reason. Letters of interest and resumes were viewed as integral components of the interview. And so now I would like to present my nominee to you. So my council colleagues, it is my privilege to present Mr. Michael Wahab. And if you're here, would you stand for a brief moment? Thank you, Mr. Wahab, and welcome to our meeting. So he is being recommended for the position of Planning Commissioner. It has been my goal to nominate an individual with specialized knowledge and relevant experience that will translate well to the work of the commission and complement the talent that already exists there. Mr. Wahab is exceptionally qualified for this position and checks all the boxes for an ideal addition to the Planning Commission. And here's why. Mr. Wahab is the owner and founder of Omega Design Group in Victorville for 15 years. So he not only lives in Victorville, but also invests in Victorville. He is a licensed architect in California. He's a licensed architect in Arizona. He's a licensed general contractor. He is an American Institute of Building Design professional building designer, as well as a past vice president of that organization. He has an intimate understanding of the development and construction process and impact of those structures on the public and their surrounding areas. Adding to all of that, Mr. Wahab is quite familiar with Victorville's planning processes and the professionals here at City Hall. He is a top-notch professional who will contribute much value to the Planning Commission. It is rare indeed to find someone with impeccable credentials and who is uniquely suited to this position. Mr. Wahab loves our city, and we are quite fortunate that someone of his professional caliber is willing to commit much time and energy for the betterment of our community. At this time, the chair invites questions exclusively related to this nominee's suitability to fulfill the duties of Planning Commissioner as detailed in California Government Code 65103. Member Becerra.
No questions.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Just one question. It's not about Mr. Wahab's qualifications, but how long is this term?
It's about 1 year.
Okay, thank you.
Member Gomez.
Yes. Before you allowed the council to ask questions, you said something about based on something code 65103. Is that what you said?
Sure. So the chair is only going to entertain questions at this point related to Mr. Wahab's suitability to fulfill his duties in accordance with California Government Code 65103. That's the standard that's set for every council member to bring a nominee forward.
Okay. My first question is, in the last 15 years, has VBC or any of the nominees been awarded any contracts?
Okay, so Member Gomez, the questions are related to his qualifications for this position. If there's any conflict of interest while he is seated in the position, he would certainly deal with that at the time.
Okay, so then my question is not going to be answered if within the last 15 years, so I shouldn't ask.
The question's not appropriate at this time.
Was there a hierarchy or a point system when selecting the various competitors for this position?
So Member Gomez, again, the criteria for the interviews, et cetera, was laid out by both the city manager and the chair. And so your questions need to be directed to the member's suitability for the position. So moving on.
Okay. And what were the qualifications under what policy or statutes that we followed? Did the council receive that?
Well, Councilmember Gomez has been on the council for 5 years and certainly should be familiar with California Government Code 65103. Moving on.
Yeah, so I am not familiar with California Government 65103, and I haven't been here for 5 years, and I don't
So-
know, but you said the criteria was set by the city manager and the chair. Is that covered under 65103?
So no, the method and the methodology under which we shortlisted and or interviewed candidates was laid out for you in the presentation by both he and I.
How many people applied for the position?
So that's, again, that's in the staff report. Moving on.
I only have 1, 2, 3 pages. I probably missed it. I'm
Well,
sorry.
again,
So it's 16?
the chair is answering questions as it
I-
relates to the individual suitability. Moving on, Member
I-
Gomez.
It's obvious that I am being shut down and I cannot ask any questions.
Member
so I'm
Gomez
just
is
gonna
free to
stop.
ask
I'm
questions
just
for
going to
me.
stop and I'm not going to ask anymore. I just
Okay,
feel
moving on.
ostracized.
Thank you. So
Thank
moving
you.
on, at this time, the chair would like to say that Mr. Wahab's credentials clearly exceed what it takes to be a successful planning commissioner. And in consideration of all of the foregoing, it is my distinct privilege to move that Mr. Michael Wahab be appointed for the position of planning commissioner. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to offer a substitute motion and
Sure.
recommend that Kimberly Messon be appointed to the Victorville Planning Commission.
Ms. Messon has not been offered this evening.
I'm sorry.
The nominee before the council is Mr. Wahab. Do you have a motion related to the nominee of the chair?
I'll second.
Which motion?
You
It-
said she couldn't.
Okay, so there's no second on the substitute motion. Is there a second on the main motion?
Hold on. You said she couldn't put a motion. for
No,
Kimberly
the chair is presenting a nominee, no other nominees tonight but Mr. Wahab.
Well, then I'm going to second the subordinate motion.
There's no such thing as a subordinate motion.
Well,
Moving
whatever
on.
Leslie said, that motion, she's got a second by me.
There's no such thing as a subordinate motion. The
Well,
chair
like I
is
said,
offering
I
the
already
nominee
seconded her motion.
for this
So that motion's
council.
on the table. There has to be a vote.
Moving on, member,
Unless you
is
suspend
there
the
a second
orders.
on the main motion? The substitute motions are out of order. Is there a second on the main motion?
I'll second.
We have a second. Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Councilmember Becerra,
Aye.
Councilmember Gomez,
What was the motion?
To appoint Mr. Wahab to the Office of Planning Commissioner.
Nay.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving,
No.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Nothing against you. You're a wonderful
Motion.
Mr.
person.
Gomez has not been
Nothing
recognized
against
by
you.
the chair and will suspend.
So please.
So no
it's not
action has been
against you.
taken on this item. Mr. Wahab, we thank you for your kind consideration to the city and applying. You're much appreciated. Thank you, sir. All right, moving on
She
to
just didn't let
item
me
number
talk, so
one on written.
I can't understand what you're about when she's
Gomez
not
does not
letting
have the
me,
floor and is out of
letting me
order.
do my talk.
Moving
So
on
my
to-
apologies
excuse
to
me,
you.
item
You are
number
a great person.
7.
You would have been a great addition too.
My apologies to the audience. Member Gomez seems to be on a tear this evening, and so we're just
My
going to plow
apologies. She
through
just thinks
this.
that she's the queen of the
Item
entire
number
thing and she
7.
thinks that whatever she does
This is
goes.
video
So my
detection equipment.
apologies for her
Mr. Metzler, will you
attitude. It's
kindly
very
tee up this
unfortunate.
item?
I'm sorry, which item are we on now?
My apologies, Mr. Metzler. It's difficult, I know,
I
sometimes
know it
to
is
plow
very
through this.
difficult when you're.
Item
trying to be
number
clear.
7, purchase of video detection equipment. Madam Clerk, will you kindly mute the member's mic until ordered to unmute it?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Yes, item 7 is dealing with the purchase of video detection equipment. And through our city, we have about 95 signalized intersections, many of which have a system that's in need of repair. So this particular item is identified and is dealing with 30 cameras throughout that 95 intersection system, where we're actually going to be replacing older cameras with newer cameras, effectively providing for newer technologies so that these cameras can properly speak to the signal controls and keep our signal coordination operating properly. With that, the author on this item is your city engineer, Mr. Brian Gengler. He's available for any questions or comments you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Metzler. Madam Clerk, will you kindly read the recommendation?
That the Honorable City Council approve the purchase of video detection equipment from Iteris Inc. in the amount of $148,008.56.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, we're going to move into technical questions for clarification as it directly relates to the staff report, beginning with Member Becerra.
No questions.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
Would you like me to unmute her mic?
Yes, please.
Yes, how long was the former equipment in service?
In some cases, up to 20 years.
Oh, Lord. And where in the city will the video detection systems be placed?
It's a variety of signals throughout the city. I don't have the specific list here in front of me unless it's in the backup documentation, but it's going to be all within our city's signalization system.
Do we know approximately how many units?
Yes, in the staff report, it's identified.
Would you-
And it's right in page or on page 116, first paragraph, where it identifies 30 video cameras.
Yeah, on page 117, what page did you say?
116.
116, okay, on the top. Thank you. And my next question is, what is the difference between detection and recordation of videos?
Well, in this particular case, there is no recording. These cameras do not record. These cameras, the easiest way to summarize what they do is that they're pointed at the lane that they're responsible for functioning and controlling, and they're just detecting vehicle or vehicular movement. And with the detection of the vehicular movement, it also detects not just singularly, but multiple vehicle detection to get a sense of stacking that occurs in at an intersection. Just detecting that movement, the communication goes to the controller system, and it helps advise the controller system when to start changing the colors of the signals.
Oh, so it's like a sensor type, and then it helps with traffic congestion. I mean, not traffic congestion, but traffic. Maybe there's a different word. I'm just trying to facilitate what is it that the actual system is doing.
A sensory system is a good characterization.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Member Gomez. Member
You're
Patel.
welcome.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you, and the chair has none. Moving on, the chair invites a motion from the Victorville City Council.
So moved.
Is that staff recommendation, Member Becerra?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a first by Member Becerra and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Irving. Moving on to discussion on the pending motion, beginning with the maker, Member Becerra.
No discussion.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Discussion.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
No.
Thank you. Chair has no discussion on the pending motion. Discussion is now closed. Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Councilmember Becerra,
Aye.
Councilmember Gomez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving,
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So the council has just adopted staff recommendation on item number 7. Moving on to item number 8, award of construction contract, 7th Avenue and Arrowhead Drive Road Improvement Project. Mr. Metzler, will you kindly introduce the item?
Yes, Madam Mayor and members of the council. 7th Avenue and Arrowhead are effectively a continuous roadway that stretches between, in this case, Green Tree Boulevard and Bear Valley Road. And this is one of our major capital improvement projects that we've been under design with and have been budgeting as a part of our capital improvement program. This project particularly is dealing in parts, everything from widening to reconstruction, curb and gutter, ADA related improvements, does include some undergrounding of electric utilities and even some installation of water line improvements. altogether, the vision at the end of the day is to have a much more uniformly constructed roadway connecting between Bear Valley Road and Green Tree Boulevard. So with that, this item it has gone through our purchasing process where we've solicited through a competitive bid process. We do have a low bidder in this particular case with the award to Sully Miller. So with that, since it's gone through the process and is within our budget, staff has recommended moving forward with this item. The author on this item is your city engineer, Mr. Brian Gengler. He's available for any technical questions or comments you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Metzler. Madam Clerk, please read the recommendation.
That the Honorable City Council adopt resolution number 21-103 to amend the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget appropriating $1,329,000 from state active transportation program grant funds and $249,600 from Transportation Development Act Article 3 grant funds, and award a construction contract to Sully Miller Construction Company in the amount of $6,870,000 for the 7th Avenue and Arrowhead Drive Road Improvement Project.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, we're going to move on to technical questions for clarification as it relates to the staff report, beginning with Member Gomez.
Yes, on page 122, there's a matrix with columns and rows. What is the purpose for the council member when looking at this with the account numbers? I'm supposing that we're looking at something available and then additional, but I mean, I don't know what that means besides me reading the actual terminology on the page.
Yes, Madam Mayor and members of the council, you do have a few things going on in that particular table. So the first column dealing with the account number, it's actually showing you a variety of different funds or funding sources being used to actually finance the construction of this project. For example, I believe among those funds, two of them, for example, are actual grant-related funds. And in fact, better described is within the first paragraph of the fiscal impact section. That's going to describe to you what those account numbers subscribe to in the fund accounting that we have. Then secondly, what you have in the second column that's entitled available budget, that's effectively what the council has approved as a part of our operating budget for this fiscal year. And I said earlier within budget, and I should have said within engineer's estimate, because this item does require an additional appropriation. And so that's the third column there. And in the additional appropriation is effectively appropriating those actual grant funds. We actually had the grant amounts known to us, but for some reason we didn't actually appropriate those as a part of the budget. So it's not a net new expense, if you will, but that third column is creating the actual appropriation from those grant funds, with the aggregate coming down to the final column, which is a 7.2 budget being created for this project. Now, comparing that to the award, you're only awarding in the order of $6.87 million. There is a difference there, and if we wanted to call that $400,000, that's effectively an amount that will be available for any additional incidental type expenses we might occur after the award of this contract, such as, for example, inspection related services.
Thank you. And how long has this item been in the CIP?
That I don't know off the top of my head, but I do see Mr. Gengler, our city engineer. He could answer that question.
As I recall, it's been in the CIP for several years because we have incurred some expenses on this for the environmental clearance and also a little bit of staff time, some technical studies and things like that. So for several years.
For several years, like maybe more than 5 or under 10?
No, but not more than 5 years. Certainly not.
I'm sorry. What was that?
No, not more than 5 years.
Okay, thank you. And how will the construction site be accommodating to incoming and ongoing traffic? I'm just kind of worried about all this traffic that we have, and sometimes it's a little confusing and cause more congestion than wanting to have.
Well, there will be some inconvenience to the through traffic during the project, but the access will be maintained to all the residents and the businesses throughout the project. So there will be times where there will be certain lanes closed off, and certain segments won't be available for through traffic, but the access will be maintained for all the properties fronting the project.
And there's some issues that I've seen in the city of Victorville. How would we be addressing with the traffic? Like you said, there's residential homes and they are going to have access, but a couple of people have gotten tickets and then they have to deal with the headache of trying to go and say, this is my house, this is where I lived. Is the city able to mitigate that, or we just let the residents, go
Okay, the
through
chair is going to
process?
call for the orders of the day. We're talking about an award of a construction contract. So moving on, Mr. Member Gomez.
Yeah, so with the award of the contract, can the city mitigate any externalities that really could give a headache to our members or community members?
Okay, moving on, Member Gomez.
Okay, I suppose no. So what is the reason for the adjustments for their various accounts? Is that what you were explaining, Mr. Mesler, with that matrix? Is that what it was? I was just looking at where it says adjustable and I was like, well, why are we adjusting anything? For page 126, there's a different matrix and it says amount adjusted to. On the resolution 21-103.
Yes, hang on, I'm just comparing it. It looks like should be doing the same thing as the chart. Yeah, it's effectively doing the same thing as what you're seeing in the chart on page 122.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Member Gomez. Mayor Pro Tem
You're
Irving.
welcome.
My questions were addressed in the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Becerra.
Mr. Metzler, if I may. Mr. Gangler, Sully Miller is going to be on scene at all times of work going through, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So if there's any issues of traffic and I can't get through and everything, Sully Miller has been good in the past about getting any residents or businesses in the area access to their location, correct?
Yes, that's been our experience in the past.
Also, if need be, anybody can always call the city, ask for your department and put a question through to you of any kind of problems or anything like that, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you very much. No further question, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Member Becerra. And the chair has no questions and invites a motion from the council.
So moved. Follow
Is that
staff
adopting staff
recommendation.
recommendation? Thank you.
Second.
We have a first and a second. We're going to take discussion on the pending motion, beginning with Member Becerra.
No discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
No discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Gomez, on the
Yes.
pending motion.
So any issues then could be addressed to your department is what I understood. Thank you.
Okay, chair has no discussion. The discussion period is now closed. Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Councilmember Becerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving,
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So the council has just taken action to adopt the recommendation laid out on the agenda. Moving on to item number 9. This is turnout number 5, Amethyst Road Water Pipeline and Metering Facility Project, Amendment number 1 to Consultant Professional Services Provider Agreement with Civil Tech Engineering Incorporated. Mr. Metzler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Yes, this item is amending an existing professional services agreement, more specifically an engineering type agreement, a design-related contract. And before we actually go to construction on the water pipeline and metering facility, which is effectively going to be along the alignment of Amethyst Road between Mesa and Sycamore, it's been identified, it wasn't anticipated when we first started the design of this project that an incidental tank permit would be required in connection with the Western Joshua Tree. And so before we actually go to advertising on the construction, we have to go through the process of developing a mitigation monitoring and reporting plan, also getting an incidental take permit through the Department of Fish and Game. So with that, this amendment allows us to get through that additional work that wasn't envisioned at the time when we first started this design project. So with that, the author on this item is your city engineer, Mr. Brian Gangler. He's available for any technical questions or comments you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Metzler. Madam Clerk, will you please read the recommendation?
That the Honorable Victorville Water District Board of Directors approve amendment number 1 to the Consultant Professional Services Provider Agreement, ECS 21-050, with Civil Tech Engineering, Inc. in amount not to exceed $75,250 for the Turnout Number 5 Amethyst Road Water Pipeline and the Metering Facility Project.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, we're going to move into technical questions for clarification as to the staff report, beginning with Mayor Pro Tem Irving.
Yes, I have one basic question. So essentially, we are expanding the scope of services provided because of some unanticipated, documents or services permits that are needed.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Member Becerra.
No questions.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
Yes, was the assistance of MWA required for us to do the turnout number 5, which is stated as a subject line? Were they required, were they a part of that in order to process this item number?
Not so much relative to this item before you. We do coordinate very closely with them and have to work with them to eventually make the connection. None of this is done without coordination, but this particular item, effectively, we're serving as the lead on.
And is this a new project of its kind?
No, we design water pipelines quite regularly throughout the city.
Yeah, I asked that question because we were asking about modifications and permits of tanks. So I wondered if that was something new.
No, that's actually speaking to a project that we just completed at Sycamore and Amethyst, the northwest corner.
And is this item done in phases? I'm just looking at the turnout number 5, suggests that there's 1 through 4.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I'm going to ask Mr. Gangler to speak. I don't know if this project, the way it's designed, is contemplating a phasing, but perhaps Mr. Gangler can speak to what the design is going to entail, 1 phase or multiple phases.
Thank you, Mayor, members of City Council. Was the question related to turnout number 5 and phases preceding that number 5?
Yes.
Okay. There are other connections to the MWA water system that receive the RQ water. So Victorville already has those connections in place now. So this would be an additional connection to the MWA water system.
Thank you. I have no further question.
Thank you, Member Gomez. Chair has none and invites a motion from the Victorville Water District Board of Directors.
I'd like to move as recommended by staff.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Member Gomez, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Irving. Moving on to discussion on the pending motion, beginning with the maker, Member Gomez.
Not at the moment.
Thank you,
You're
Mayor Pro Tem.
No discussion, thank you.
Thank you, Member Becerra.
No discussion.
Thank you, Chair has none. Discussion period's closed. Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Councilmember Becerra,
Aye.
Councilmember Gomez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving,
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So the Victorville Water District Board of Directors has adopted the recommendation laid out on the agenda. Moving on to item number 10, approval of a renewable power purchase agreement with Gaskel West 2 LLC. Mr. Metzler, will you introduce the item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. I'm very pleased actually to be bringing this item to you. It's been an item we've been working on for quite some time. But effectively, this item allows for your electric utility, which is principally serving out at the airport. But this provides the Victorville Electric Utility Services with the ability to secure electric power over a 25-year term principally through solar project that's being constructed out in Kern County. But unique in this particular project, it also includes, beyond the purchase of electricity, it also provides for battery storage, which is helpful for the utility in the terms of proving its resource adequacy. This contract will move the electric utility much closer to meeting its renewable portfolio standard requirements. And in fact, when this contract comes online, combined with another contract that we are expecting to come online next year as well, this will actually help the utility exceed at least the minimum procurement targets of 60% by 2030. So this is a favorable item for the electric utility. The author on this item is your Director of Electric Utility Services, Ms. Brenda Hampton. She's available for any technical questions or comments you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Metzler. All right, Madam Clerk, will you please read the recommendation?
That the Honorable City Council approve the renewable power purchase agreement between the City of Victorville, City of Corona, and Industrial Public Utilities as buyers and Gaskell West 2 LLC as seller.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, technical questions for clarification, beginning with Member Becerra.
No questions.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
Yeah. So will VMUS now be considered at capacity, I presume, because we're talking about the procurements of the types of capacity. So will VMUS now be considered at capacity, and how long will the capacity levels dwindle or wane until we have to renegotiate? So I'm just looking at what is the lifeline or the life expectancy of this negotiation and the renewals.
Well, this particular item is not dealing with capacity. This is actually dealing specifically with the commodity that we eventually sell to our customers. Our customers consume it. And once entered into, this contract is a 25-year contract. So effectively, this contract will remain in place so long as the parties are performing for that period of time, and they'll honor the provisions within the contract.
So this is like essentially VMUS purchasing energy?
Electricity, correct.
Okay. And my next question is, I'm looking at the contract that was made between different cities. Why these cities and other cities, or is that just how it landed?
It actually works out better for a provider like Gaskell West, who the parent is Recurrent Energy. But utilities like Victorville Utility, Corona, and even Industry, we're considered a smaller publicly owned utilities. And so we've actually worked with these cities in the past because of their nature being similar to ours, to where collectively we're actually able to represent an amount of power that's of interest to, say, a power generator like the Gaskell LLC. So in this particular case, instead of Gaskell individually entering into smaller contracts with each of us, we allow one contract to govern our aggregate power, and then use that same contract to divvy up amongst the cities who's going to get what power.
And then this only benefits Foxborough and SCLA?
Yes, those are the only two locations where we provide electric utility services.
And how did negotiations ensue? What happened with Hecate as a negotiable renewable power purchase? I don't know, maybe I'm just confusing it, but we did have a contract with Hecate.
We did have a contract with a company called Hecate, and there was a settlement surrounding that transaction. That transaction is no longer a transaction we as the electric utility are relying on to provide electric services for our customers.
So said differently, we don't work with them. We're doing this contract, what we're looking at in front of us today.
Yes, but I think it needs to be pointed out that Hecate has no relationship to what we're doing here. This is more so speaking to providing or identifying a renewable resource that can help us meet our renewable portfolio standard requirements.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Member Gomez. Mayor Pro Tem Irving.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. The chair has none and invites a motion from the Victorville City Council.
So moved.
Second.
Following.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
So are we moving staff recommendation, Member Becerra?
Yes.
Thank you. Member Gomez, is that your understanding to second?
Yes.
Thank
Second.
you. All right, with that said, we're going to take discussion on the pending motion, beginning with the maker, Member Becerra.
No discussion.
Thank you. Member Gomez.
No.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Irving.
None, thank you.
Thank you. Chair has no comments on the pending motion. Discussion period is now closed. Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Becerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomez.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving,
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So we've adopted the recommendation laid out on the agenda. Moving on to item number 11, Animal Kennel Construction Grant from San Manuel Band of Mission Indians. Mr. Metzler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Yes, this item is to actually accept an award of $50,000 from the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, which will actually use those funds to help us better serve our homelessness related population, particularly those members of our homeless population that are in need of sheltering for their animals. Animals are a very important part of the relationship with our homeless residents. So this grant, once received, will actually be used to spend on modifying an existing modular unit so that we actually can have kennels available outside our interim homeless shelter out at West Winds. And those kennels would be placed adjacent to that shelter in the event residents to that facility have a need to house their beloved animals. So with that, your author on this item is Mr. Scott Webb. He's your city planner. He's available for any questions or comments you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Metzler. Madam Clerk, please read the recommendation.
That the Honorable City Council accept a grant award from San Manuel Band of Mission Indians in the amount of $50,000 to fund the construction of an animal kennel at the city's homeless shelter and adopt resolution number 21-104 to amend fiscal year 2021-2022 annual budget for the revenue and expenses associated with the project.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, technical questions for clarification. I'm reminding the council that this has to do with the acceptance of a grant. We're going to begin with Member Gomez.
Yes. Was this a piggyback?
Member Gomez, I'm sorry.
Yeah, was this a piggyback? A staff received a general contractor's estimate and it looks like you want to expedite it.
The answer is no.
So this is something new then, right? We put it out for bid.
No, we're actually on item number 11. This is dealing with the acceptance of a grant.
Yeah, for the number 11 Animal Kennel Construction Grant from San Bernardino Band of Mission Indians. I was just reading, staff received a general contractor's estimate of this amount, which is almost 50 grand from MDJ Management for the work which can be executed by the city manager signing. That's what I was asking. That's on page 311.
Sure, and that estimate likely was used to help justify the request for funds from the awarding body.
Okay, with the $50,000 grant, how big can we work with the amount? Is it gonna be a big kennel based on the amount of the grant, or that's just not gonna? Are we gonna need more monies, or is this good enough, the 50 to supply for the homeless shelter, the dogs coming in?
We currently believe that's sufficient. To give you a perspective of the size of the facility, page 321 has some pictures of the modular unit and both. So the top picture on page 321 gives you a sense of the size of the facility. And certainly the bottom pictures give you a sense of what the inside looks like. Now, this is effectively converting a bathroom facility, a modular bathroom facility into kennels. So largely the work being done will be to the interior of this. And it would include kennels effectively so that there's a place to safely house pets.
And will the animal control department be a part of this, or it has nothing to do with that? The 50,000 that's going to be funded for the construction. I just put animal control and kennel together.
Sure, I can field that question. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. The Animal Care and Control Division will only be assisting during the operation of the facility. They'll provide some assistance regarding training for the clients that reside at the shelter on proper care, and will also help facilitate transportation should the animals need care from a veterinarian.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Moving on to Mayor Pro Tem Irving. Again, this is related to whether we wish to receive the grant.
Yes, thank you. No questions.
Thank you. Member Becerra.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Webb, thank you to you and your staff for getting this grant for us. The homeless also have pets, and like you said, sometimes it's the only one they have left. So thank you very much to you and your staff.
Thank you, Member Becerra. All right, and the chair has no questions and invites a motion from the Victorville City Council.
So moved.
Is that
Follow
staff
staff
recommendation?
recommendation.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have a first by Member Becerra, second by Mayor Pro Tem Irving. Discussion on the pending motion. Member Becerra.
No discussion.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
No discussion.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
None.
Thank you. And the
You're
chair
welcome.
wishes to echo the sentiments of her colleagues in thanking our staff for being able to secure this grant. It's going to do our city well. With that said, the discussion period is now closed. Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Councilmember Becerra,
Aye.
Councilmember Gomez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving,
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So the City Council has adopted staff's recommendation in receiving the grant award. Moving on to item number 12, standard sublease agreement for Building 720, Suite 102, by and between the Southern California Logistics Airport Authority and ComAv Technical Services LLC. Mr. Metzler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Yes, this item is dealing with the sublease of a suite within Building 720. And using our standard lease template, this lease agreement is effectively serving for a term of 1 year with a 1-year option comprising about 13,000, little over 13,000 square feet of office space, as it would be in this particular case. That effectively is at a rent of about 90 cents, which is negotiated rent and is competitive with other rents charged out at the airport. So with that, the author on this item is your airport director, Mr. Eric Gray. He's available for any questions or comments you might have.
Yes, thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, the recommendation, please.
That the Southern California Logistics Airport Authority Board of Directors approve entering into a standard sublease agreement for Building 720, Suite 102, by and between the SCLAA and ComAv Technical Services LLC, and authorize the airport director to execute said agreement and adopt resolution number SCLAA 21-011, amending the 2021-2022 budget, increasing revenue in Fund 450 by $94,428.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, technical questions for clarification as to the staff report, beginning with Mayor Pro Tem Irving.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Becerra.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Metzler, if I may, Mr. Ray, on page 353, I've seen a floor plan. Is this the way the building is currently, or this is the way ComAv is going to make it?
This is the way it is currently.
And they plan on doing any modifications, or do we plan on doing any modifications for them?
No, ma'am, we don't. It's a short-term lease just for 1 year. The building is operational, clean, and serviceable, so they're accepting it as is.
Cool. Thank you very much, sir. No further questions.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Member Becerra. Member Gomez.
Yes. Is ComAv essentially expanding its square footage by subleasing?
Yes, well, yes, they are. They're expanding their footprint.
I'm sorry, you said yes, and then what followed it?
Yes, they are expanding their footprint here on this particular lease for a short period of time to
Okay.
accommodate their customers. That's various airlines that are operating here at the airport.
And it says no expenses are anticipated, and if there were, who would be responsible based on the lease agreement?
Lease agreement puts the onus of most operating expenses for the building upon the shoulders of the tenant, in this case, ComAv.
Okay, and how did the 1 year come about and not more than the leasing? Those were part of the negotiations to ensure revenues, or Was it just something temporarily? It could be extended by the lease another year on behalf of them or behalf of the city of Victorville?
It was market driven. ComAv needed that, they forecasted the need for that space for the next year. So they had asked for that time, but not understanding what the pandemic is going to ultimately look like. Air traffic is increasing. Air passenger traffic is increasing, but not understanding when a full swing will be back. They don't know. So they took the option for one extra year. So in the event that these airlines continue to keep the aircraft on the ground and they need that space within the offices, they've got the ability to renew that.
And then I'm also looking at the 329. It's an attached map of a general site. So it looks like it's one building attached to several buildings, but the building that's going to be subleased probably has a suite that's minimal, that's going to be, or is it the entire building and it's considered a suite from, I'm going to call it head to toe or wall to wall?
It's a very large building, very long, a lot of square footage. I think it's about 66,000 total square feet. And you're right, we bifurcated that building into three pillars, separated that building into three sections, each with a different suite number. That was done for the purpose of address for mailing. So they are now taking that entire suite, 102.
Okay, and then there's a vehicle parking. Is that attached a part of the sublease, or is that just for purposes of showing the council what it may look like?
It's for the purpose of defining to the tenant where their employees are authorized to park.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
You're welcome.
All right, and the chair has no questions and invites a motion from the Southern California Logistics Airport Authority Board of Directors.
I'd like to move as recommended by staff.
Member Gomez wishes to move staff's recommendation. Is there a second?
Second.
The first by Member Gomez, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Irving. Discussion on the pending motion, Member Gomez.
Not at the moment.
Okay, this is your opportunity, so
I
yes
know. I
or
don't
no?
have, yeah, I don't know.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Becerra.
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Chair has no comments on the pending motion. Discussion is closed. And Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Becerra,
Aye.
Councilmember Gomez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving,
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So the SCLAA Board of Directors has taken action in accordance with the recommendation set out on the agenda. Moving on to item number 13. Mr. Metzler, will you tee up the item?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, and members of the council. This item also similarly is dealing with a standard lease agreement involving the airport authority and a prospective tenant, in this case of multiple facilities. Carries a 5-year initial term with a 5-year option at a negotiated rate for each of the facilities. So with that, this item was authored by your airport director, Mr. Eric Gray. He's available for any questions or comments you might have.
Thank you. Mr. Metzler, Madam Clerk, the recommendation, please.
That the Southern California Logistics Airport Authority Board of Directors approve entering into a standard sublease agreement for buildings 868, 868A, 869, and 835 by and between the SCLAA and Over Air Inc., and authorize the airport director to execute said agreement.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, technical questions for clarification, beginning with Member Becerra.
Thank you. Mr. Metzler, if I may. Mr. Ray, after this rental of all said buildings, percentage-wise, about how much of the airport on the air side is rented out?
This is the last airside facility, and we are nearing the very end of any tenable buildings on the land side as well. So effectively, I think by the end of this year, we can effectively say we have no buildings that do not require, other than those that require a significant investment, we have nothing to lease. So we're really close.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for your work. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Member Becerra. Member Gomez.
Yes. So to understand the report, for the purposes of my understanding, so it's subleasing, meaning business as usual. I see the revenues that are going to be acquired at about $300,000 a month. And I was wondering, these are monthly fees, or I'll call them monthly rental fees. Are they going towards keeping the makeup of this building, or is just it goes to the fund for the airport to continue the operations of the entire airport?
That's correct. It goes to the operations of the entire airport. Our real estate portfolio is what funds the operation and what funds the operation of the actual airfield. So it's imperative that this revenue stays dedicated. In fact, it's required by regulation to stay on the airport for use for the operation of the facility.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Member Gomez. Mayor Pro Tem Irving.
Yes, my questions, I guess, are for my own personal edification. So what we're doing is we're subleasing to Over Air, and this company is primarily into, is it a passenger outfit, or they're going to create an air taxi or something like that? Is that right?
I was hoping somebody would ask that lovely question.
Yeah, my question, okay, I'll let you talk.
Okay.
All right.
The urban air mobility is a whole new venture into aviation. Essentially, these are full-size drones that will carry passengers, 4 to 6 passengers, unmanned, what we think of as oversized drones. This company is at the leading edge of that technology, and there's a belief that these aircraft will be the Ubers of the skies within big cities in the next few years. So we're very fortunate to have attracted who we believe to be the leader in that industry right now to be a part of that.
Okay, I guess my next question is there a vision for the future that we might entertain passenger transportation? Just asking.
Oh, sure. The vision that I see in the near future meaning at the 5 to 10 year frame, would be that they may have a manufacturing facility here at our airport. That would be our goal. That would be jobs, that would be revenue. That could be a very, very, very positive for our community. Do I see this company selling the UAMs to an operator, such as potentially Uber, and operating in Victorville? No, I don't see that. The market is anticipated to be in big cities to get out of the traffic. So you're not in a car, you're flying overhead over the buildings.
Okay, well, it's exciting. So thank you very much. Yeah, I got caught up in this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And the chair has no questions and invites a motion from the Southern California Logistics Airport Authority Board of Directors.
So moved to follow staff's recommendation.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Member Gomez.
Okay, all right, we have a first by Member Becerra and a second by Member Gomez. Discussion on the pending motion, beginning with Member Becerra.
No discussion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
No.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
No, ma'am.
Thank you, and the chair has no discussion on the pending motion and closes the discussion period. Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Becerra,
Aye.
Councilmember Gomez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving,
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So the SCLAA Board of Directors has adopted the recommendation laid out on the agenda. We're now going to move on to item 14, but the chair notices that items 14 through 20 are substantially similar in nation and invites a motion to consider them together
So moved.
with their individual recommendations remaining separate and distinct.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Thank you. All right, discussion on that motion?
No discussion.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Yeah, I'd like to have discussion on that. I have a couple of questions.
Okay, so the chair invited discussion, so we're going to entertain it, but next time, before I ask for the vote, please make sure that you make your comments. So go ahead.
I wasn't clear on that. I didn't know I had to.
Sure,
do
we've
that.
done it a number of times, but go ahead.
New for me today, new day. I don't have memory from yesterday. So my question is, so since it goes for all of them, what settlement authority was granted to McCarran, the city attorney, for these?
Okay, so that goes outside the scope of the pending motion. Move on, please.
And what was the city council, was the city council aware of the settlement? If so, would you?
So
please
member
rem-
Gomez, again, that goes beyond the scope of the pending
Okay, but I
motion.
still
The
have the
pending
right to ask
motion
for
is
the
to
public,
combine
for the
items
record.
14 through
Just please
20
don't
for
interrupt
consideration.
me. I understand you can say what you want, but just don't interrupt me. For the purpose of the record,
If you're
I
not
want
going
the
to move
record to
on,
reflect
going to remove
that I'm asking
recognition.
these questions.
So removes
What is the
recognition,
overall
moving.
administrative citation and fine
Right,
structures that were
so
alluded herein?
That said, Madam Clerk, will you kindly take the vote on the pending motion?
So clearly you're corrupt. There's a
Sarah?
lot of things that need to go. There's no search warrant for any of these. So that's why I'm asking.
Councilmember Gomez?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
was
No,
the
member
vote on the
Gomez, we're
pending
voting on
motion.
the
I
pending
couldn't
motion.
hear, there's multiple people speaking.
Well, member Gomez was out of order. So member
Okay,
Gomez, do you wish to
what-
cast a vote?
Yes, I wish to cast a vote. What was the motion to?
We're not, Madam Clerk, will you okay, so the motion is to consider items 14 through 20 as they're substantially similar in nature, and that we're going to consider them together with their individual recommendations remaining separate and distinct. How does the member vote?
No.
All right, Madam Clerk, move on.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye.
Motion passes with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Thank you. So the council is now going to consider items 14 through 20 together with their recommendations remaining separate and distinct. So with that in mind, Mr. Metzler, will you kindly tee up the items?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Yes, these items collectively are dealing with settlement involving marijuana grows at various locations throughout the city. The author on this item, or these items, are your deputy city attorney. I'll ask you to ask any technical questions of either Mr. DeBortnowski or Ms. McCarron.
Thank you. And so, Madam Clerk, keeping in mind that we're dealing with a number of items, will you please read the recommendations?
That the Honorable City Council approve the settlement agreement by and between Alfred Castaneda and the City of Victorville in regards to citation number 25273 and Superior Court Case Number CIVDS 2021-833. That the Honorable City Council approve the settlement agreement by and between Tai Peng and the City of Victorville in regards to citation number 25111. That the Honorable City Council approve the settlement agreement by and between Xing Ling Wang and the City of Victorville in regards to citation number 24021 and authorize the city manager to execute said agreement. That the Honorable City Council approve the settlement agreement by and between Ernesto Gomez, President of EG Properties LLC, and the City of Victorville in regards to citation number 24098 and authorize the city manager to execute said agreement. That the Honorable City Council approve the settlement agreement by and between John Jin Chin and the City of Victorville in regards to citation number 26431 and authorize the city manager to execute said agreement. That the Honorable City Council approve the settlement agreement by and between Jaylin Dai and the City of Victorville in regards to citation number 26439 and authorize the city manager to execute said agreement. That the Honorable City Council approve the settlement agreement by and between Mary Ann Huang and the City of Victorville in regards to citation number 25467 and authorize the city manager to execute said agreement.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, we're going to move into technical questions for clarification with the chair's friendly reminder to be judicious with questions and comments to safeguard confidentiality laws, beginning with Member Gomez.
So I can ask questions now because I was confused the first time.
I'm sorry that the member is confused.
Don't be
However,
sorry.
at this
You're
point,
just
we're moving
unclear
on
as a
to
chair.
technical questions of clarification. It is inappropriate to be rude to
It's
your colleagues.
inappropriate that you don't want me to have
Does Member
clarity.
Gomez wish to ask questions?
Yes, I
Otherwise,
have
we'll move on.
questions. So I can ask questions. You mean yes, right? Okay. So what settlement authority was granted to McCarron, the city attorney?
Madam Mayor, the city attorney was granted settlement authority in accordance with the Brown Act, in accordance with closed session discussions, and all of these agreements are consistent with direction given during closed session.
The last part, it was a little muffled. I just heard Brown Act and then what
All of the
else?
authorizations were given in closed session, and therefore we cannot disclose the discussions in closed session. That is privileged information. But all of these are consistent with prior closed session direction from the city council.
And was the council aware of the settlement? If so, would you please remind the council?
Yes, the council was briefed on settlement, on these settlement structures in closed session with respect to all of these items.
And what is the overall administrative citation and fine structures that we're alluding to herein?
These are fines based on a per plant fine based on illegal cannabis grows throughout the city.
And is it a residential property or per household? Would you clarify the statement?
I believe these are all residential properties where there are illegal grows beyond what is allowed by California law.
Okay, and what about outside? Are they the same rules that apply for state and Victorville local municipalities?
The state has allowed Victorville to regulate cannabis grows within its own jurisdiction. And these citations are consistent with the regulations set forth in the Victorville Municipal Code.
So then some of them are outside and some of them are inside. So the state has allowed the city to regulate inside and outside. Is that what you said?
These are all indoor cannabis grows.
Okay. And then, so the seventh plant is $100 and so goes the count, I believe. What formula did the city use for such calculations or models?
It was a discussion between city's code enforcement and city attorney's office as to establishing a fine that would hopefully prevent continued illegal cannabis grows within the city.
And those established fines are retrievable if someone were to ask for them?
I'm not sure what you mean by retrievable. They are payable by the offenders.
So CPRA, so because I don't understand what you mean, discussion per code enforcement and city attorney. I almost feel like it's privileged and the community can't find out.
The fine amounts are set forth in the Victorville Municipal Code, so anybody can read those fines.
Okay.
That's a public document.
And how has the city become aware of the typical illegal grows as stated in the report?
So Member Gomez, that goes beyond the scope of the.
No, it
items.
doesn't,
Move on,
because I
please.
want to know, was there a warrant?
Go
Would
on,
just
please.
go?
Move on. These
Was
are
a
settled-
warrant
these are
issued to
settled-
enter the, I'm sorry, I moved on.
That goes into the purview of the sheriff's office and the code enforcement and their practices, and that's not
Sheriff's-
relevant for our discussion here.
Purview of sheriff and code enforcement, okay. And was a warrant issued to enter the property or was there an invitation from the owner?
Member Gomez, that goes beyond the scope of
No,
this
it
item.
doesn't.
These are settlement
We
agreements.
cited
Move
these
on.
people. I mean, if you don't want to answer it,
We'll move
that's
on.
fine. So if
Gomez,
the
we'll move
city
on.
has this, can you please stop interrupting me?
The chair presides over this meeting. Move on.
Can you stop interrupting me so I can continue?
Happy to.
If the
if
city,
member will
excuse
yield.
me. If the city has decided to settle, why is the city subject to a pending citation appeal?
Ms. McCarron, do you want to answer that question? She's available.
Yeah, can you repeat that question? I'm not sure I fully understand your question.
Yeah, it's because they're 14 to 20 are all together, so they were for each one. So if the city has decided to settle, there's language that says that we are subject to a pending citation appeal, which I don't understand the language. So if you don't understand, hey, beats me, you were in all this. So I'm just trying to get clarification.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Councilmember Gomez, your questions are a little confusing. I'm going to try to answer as best as I can. I think what you mean in regards to pending citation appeal, whenever a citation is issued, the property owner or whoever receives the citation has the right to appeal it. It's a due process right. So there's an administrative appeal and then they can further appeal it to Superior Court. So these 7 items, I think with the exception of one, had pending appeals, either at the administrative level or the Superior Court level.
Yes. So even though my question was a little bit confusing, you're right on target, and that was only one, as you pointed out. So I appreciate the fact that you were actually able to understand the question, even though it seemed like it wasn't. Why are all the other closed session cannabis cases not revealed in this one? So what I'm asking, it looks like we do stuff in closed session, but all of a sudden I see them out here. Some of them, but not all of them. Is there a reason for that?
Your time is up.
Yeah,
Thank you,
the
Member Gomez.
government
Mayor
code
Pro Tem
requires.
Irving, excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem Irving, any questions? Thank you.
My
Member
time was
Becerra,
up for
any-
asking, but not for letting the person respond.
Member Becerra?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. And the chair has none and invites a motion from the Victorville City Council. So actually the
So-
chair invites a motion. I'll just make it so that it's easy for everyone if you're so inclined. So
Sure.
the chair invites a motion to adopt the recommendations as set out on the agenda for items 14 through 20.
Second.
Thank you. All right, discussion on the pending motion. The chair has no discussion. Member Becerra.
No discussion.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Irving.
No discussion.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
Yes, George Duran is a crooked code enforcement manager, I'm told. Why is that? It's placed on the record, for the record, let the record reflect.
We'll bring
Thank you
herself
very
to
much.
order.
I stated, would you like to say it
Gomez,
again? I
no
can.
longer has the floor. Discussion period is now closed. Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Councilmember Becerra,
Aye.
Councilmember Gomez,
Nay.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving,
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Thank you. So the council has just taken action to approve the recommendations as laid out on the agenda for items 14 through 20. We've already taken up item number 21, so we're now going to move on to item number 22, which I believe is city manager reports.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. First, let me just state, because a statement was just made that's very troubling to me, said
Well, it's
about,
not to me when I'm
But
being told from
Gomez
the
does not have
community.
the floor. and will
Neither do you.
suspend.
George Duran beat up Daniel on the head, and each one of you saw that. Mr. Gangley, Mr. Baltier, all of you saw him hitting him on the head. So George Duran
Is now going to take a recess for 5 minutes to 7:46. Thank you. My apologies for the indecorous behavior.
I move to
We
adjourn
have
the
a
meeting.
first and a second to adjourn the meeting, as we have a member who is not regulating herself. Madam Clerk, will you please take the vote to adjourn?
Councilmember Becerra,
Aye.
Councilmember Gomez. No. Mayor Pro Tem Irving,
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Indeed.
Motion passes with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
All right, thank you. So we've just, we're about to adjourn this meeting, but just to take up the matters of hospitality. So Member Gomez has no idea what she's talking about. So our business has concluded. We will vacate the premises within 10 minutes at 7:52 so that the premises may be secured and cleansed for the evening. Thank you very much.
That's why they want to take